Hello everybody, welcome back. Welcome to the Legal Aid New South Wales and Revenue New South Wales Nuts and Bolts webinar. So this webinar we're focusing on more about direct and referral activities. My name's Linda, I'm a lawyer at Legal Aid New South Wales in the Work and Development Order Service. I'm here with Tanya and Lauren from the Revenue New South Wales Debt Resolution Unit. We're broadcasting this webinar from Parramatta. To begin, I'd like to acknowledge and pay my respects to the traditional owners and custodians on whose land we're broadcasting this session today. The webinar will be about 45 minutes in total. This will include time for questions and answers at the end. In 2018, we've been having these administration webinars every month, plus extra topics once a quarter. This webinar is one of our extra topics. Keep an eye on the Legal Aid New South Wales workshops and webinar page to find out when they are next scheduled. Or you can send an email to us at cle@legalaidnewsouthwales.gov.au and ask to be signed up to our Law for Community Workers newsletter that comes out every 2 months with information about webinars, workshops and podcasts. Some of you may have just attended our WDO Administration Masterclass webinar this morning. If so, welcome back. We'll be covering a few things in this webinar that we covered at the start of the earlier session, so apologies for any duplication. Then we'll be getting into more detail about direct and refer activities. The information in this webinar is based on the frequently asked questions that both the hotline, staff at Revenue and legal aid lawyers get from Work and Development Order sponsors. Just a few housekeeping issues about the webinar. If you want to ask us questions, and please do, see the control panel on the right-hand side of your screen. In the control panel is a box where you can type in questions. Sometimes your control panel might shrink. To expand it again, there's a red button with an arrow in it. If you can't see the full control panel now, or if this control panel shrinks, you can click on that red button to make it reappear. You can type in questions for us during the webinar and we'll respond to individuals as they come in. Some of your questions we may leave until the end to answer if we think that other people will benefit. If you're having trouble hearing us via the internet link, you can phone into the webinar to listen while you follow the presentation online. Details of the phone number and access details are in the control panel or in the reminder email that you were sent for this webinar. There are 3 handouts that we'll be discussing during the webinar. You can find these on your control panel in PDF form. You can download them now to have ready when we discuss them later on in the webinar. We'll be using a few polls throughout the webinar. So to test the function and to test that you can hear us, we'll just do a quick one now. So we'll open that poll question. So the questions are, what is your experience with the Work and Development Order Scheme? 1, I know nothing about WDOs. 2, my service is a WDO sponsor, but I haven't supported anyone yet. 3, I've done between 1 and 15 WDOs. And 4, I've had heaps of experience. So we've got a few results coming in there, Lauren.
We sure do. I'll just share them with everyone. Only a few experts.
And a few who know absolutely nothing. Most people are from a Work and Development Order provider but haven't supported anyone themselves. And over 50% have done a few. So we can kind of guess that we've got a bit of experience here, but hopefully we'll just be able to flesh that out a bit.
Yeah, exactly.
So after the webinar, we'll receive a survey and it will help us if you can give us your feedback. About an hour after the webinar, you'll receive an email with links where you can get further help and information. So before we start, let's just quickly run through what this webinar is about and what you'll hopefully be able to take away from the session to help with your work as Work and Development Order sponsors. Oh, sorry. So we're going to cover getting approved as a Work and Development Order sponsor. So going back right to the beginning, how does an organisation get approved? Mm-hmm. And then a direct and referral activities. What does this mean? How to set up and manage a referral relationship. We'll have some resources, contacts for your help, and a question and answer session at the end. The design on this slide is part of our new Legal Aid New South Wales WDO resources. You can order free copies of these resources on the Legal Aid New South Wales publications page. We've got a range of postcards and more detailed pamphlets and also posters that you can put up in your organisation. So the Work and Development Order Program. This program has achieved amazing results since it was first piloted in 2009 and then rolled out from 2011. So we've had the portal now since 2012, Lauren. That's about 6 years.
Yep, a long time.
Yeah. So, and we've just recently had over $100 million worth of fines debt that has been cleared through the Work and Development Order Program. So big shout out to all you sponsors who are working with people to help clear their fines debt. So work and development orders can be used to pay off both court fines and penalty notices. Also, victims restitution order debts are in there. And if there is enforcement action for these fines, this enforcement action will stop when a work and development order is activated. So we have three kind of organisations responsible for delivering the Work and Development Order Program. Revenue New South Wales, who manage the hotline, that's 1300 478 879. They look after the online self-service portal and are definitely the go-to people for everything related to that. They process new WDO sponsors and variation applications. So Lauren's going to be talking a bit more about that later. We have Department of Justice, who administer the WDO scheme and they oversee the WDO guidelines and the audit. We have an audit in process at the moment and they can give more information about that. Legal Aid New South Wales, which I'm from, we've got 6 teams across the state. We promote access to work and development orders, provide sponsor training. We've been running sponsor forums, developing WDO resources, and have a specialist fine service for clients who have fines. You can find details of your closest WDO team on our website. Just go to Legal Aid New South Wales and search WDO. So just a bit of a review. Who can do a work and development order? You need to be eligible, and there are 6 heads of eligibility. So the first one is young people. Yeah, so young people under the age of 18. Juveniles was added as a new eligibility category last year. So you must be satisfied that the person's unable to pay the fines, they don't possess substantial assets, but as long as they are eligible and you have proof of their ID, automatically eligible. Then we have acute economic hardship. So if a person is on a Centrelink benefit or otherwise in economic hardship, and there's an income table that is in that list that we're going to send you at the end. Homelessness, mental illness, intellectual disability or cognitive impairment, or serious addiction to drugs, alcohol or other substances. So a person needs to be eligible, and then there needs to be activities that are suitable for them. So this table just is a summary of all the activities that are available. We'll flesh this out a little bit more throughout the course of this webinar. Often we have, there's confusion around the activities. Can you do multiple activities? When do I count individual counselling hours versus mental health treatment? These kinds of things are often the questions that we have. You can see there that we've listed there the rates. I don't think we need to labour it because most of you have done WDOs before.
That's right. But if you do have any questions, feel free to use the question panel. Tanya's here to answer your questions, so keep them rolling in.
Yep. So just to note that a person can do multiple activities. They can do activities directly, so that's with your organisation as the WDO sponsor, and they can do them on referral. They can do a combination of activities, but they can only do $1,000 maximum in the month. And so the type of activities that you're able to support for a person will depend on that original application that you've gone through. Sometimes the confusion arises because you personally as a WDO user or case manager may not have been involved in the original application process. So we're just going to look a little bit more at that and how you can know what activities you're approved for or maybe change them. So Lauren's going to look at that.
Thanks, Linda. So when an organisation or health practitioner wants to become a work and development order sponsor, they need to complete an online form, which is available on the Revenue New South Wales website. These images are taken from the website. So once you've selected apply and entered your email address, this is what appears. When completing the online form, you are required to choose from the list of approved WDO activities that your organisation can provide. These are either direct and or by referral. Provide evidence of insurance. So the type of insurance depends on what activities you will be supporting directly. Provide information about the staff who will be supporting the WDO activities. The form asks what qualifications do staff have to provide and support WDO activities. On the web page where you find the online application form, there is also a checklist you can download to assist with preparing your answers to the questions in the form. After submitting the online application form, it is assessed by Revenue New South Wales WDO staff. Revenue New South Wales prepares a submission of approve or not approve to New South Wales Department of Justice. This occurs on a weekly basis, so you will hear fairly quickly whether you have been approved or if we require further information from you to finalise the application. Once you are approved, there's an approval letter that's sent out to you. This letter provides important details that you need to keep, particularly the names of the administrators for the self-service portal, your setup password for the portal, and what activities you are approved to provide, and whether these are directly or by referral. It's quite an involved process, actually.
Yeah.
So once this image appears, we'll move on. Okay. So the image on this slide is an example of the selection of the WDO activities on the WDO sponsor application form. You can choose each activity either direct or by referral, or choose both, direct and refer, to open up your options. What are direct activities? These are the questions we've been waiting for, I'm sure. When an organisation applies to become a work and development order sponsor, they have a choice from the list of approved WDO activities, which ones they can provide directly to clients. This choice needs to be supported by evidence or the organisation's insurance and staff who are qualified to supervise the WDO activity and clients. So what's meant by referral to another? Sorry, we'll just read this again. Wow. What are by referral to another service activities? I'm not sure that makes sense to anyone, including us.
Just referral activities.
Yeah, but referral activities is what we're talking about. So when an organisation applies to become a WDO sponsor, they can also choose to offer approved WDO activities on a referral basis. This means that you support the client to do a work and development order activity with another organisation, but you do all the relevant reporting to Revenue New South Wales using the self-service portal.
And it's really handy. A lot of our fantastic sponsors who might be located in a regional area might do WDOs on referral, so clients can go to a whole range of different organisations, men's sheds or psychologists, and the sponsor is just entering the WDO on referral. So it's pretty handy. We'll wait, there's another slide coming up. This is just something that we've created because we do get a lot of questions from sponsors who are just confused about what activities they're approved to support and whether it's a direct or a referral activity. So hopefully this will provide a bit more guidance.
Yeah, I do think it's clear, Linda, but if there's any questions, keep them coming in.
Yeah. So this form here, it's just sort of summarising the activities that your organisation may be approved to support. It just sets out some of the obligations. It notes that if you're providing an activity directly, that's under your insurance, your organisation. If it's on referral, then you, as the WDO sponsor, have a kind of obligation to your client really and to yourself to make sure that the referral agency that you're referring them to have got insurance to cover that worker or the client, that they have appropriate registration if they're a psychologist, that they're a proper organisation. They obviously don't need to be a WDO sponsor themselves,
no,
but you kind of need to turn your mind to the sort of organisation that you're sending them to and be satisfied that they're a proper organisation in accordance with those things that are set out there. So, yeah, so that's insurance, professional liability, work and healthy, work health and safety policies, and you know that it's an appropriate place if people are under the age of 18. So you, as the WDO sponsor, will continue to oversee the administration of the activity. You'll enter the work and development order. You'll report onto the self-service portal once a month about compliance with the activity. You'll maintain records on eligibility and compliance with the activity. And we'll just, this page has a little bit more information just about activities. Do you want to go through that, Lauren?
Yeah. As the WDO sponsor, you are required to ensure that the activity your client is undertaking is appropriate and suitable for that client. You also have an obligation to ensure that you keep accurate work and development order records. As the WDO sponsor, you will continue to oversee the administration of the WDO, including entering the work and development order onto the online portal, reporting on WDO activity once a month, maintaining records of the client's eligibility and compliance with the activity being undertaken. Right.
So I think one of the confusions that sponsors often have is what's good proof of, you know, if I'm referring my client to another organisation, how am I supposed to keep proof of that, and what would you recommend? I think we will be sending some timesheets, a sample timesheet that you may find it helpful to use. Really, it's just a matter of you making sure that you have some kind of proof that A, the activity exists, that it's a suitable activity, and B, that the person has actually attended at that activity. And engaged. Yeah. So it might be a signed timesheet. You might have an email exchange with the supervisor or the coordinator of the service where you're referring the client to. You should ensure that the records are accurate and that they evidence the hours that you're entering onto the portal. You don't need detail about what happened or if the client's seeing a psychologist. You don't need really any personal detail about that. No. It's really about the hours that they've attended. So if you get an email back from, for example, the psychologist saying, yes, the client attended 4 hours this month or 2 hours this month, that's fine. Just keep that as a record and you'll be right.
Yeah.
So just to try to explain that a little bit more, we've got a case study. So I'll just read that out. We have Sue, who is on New Start. She has a number of traffic fines that she can't pay. You offer to assist her by organising a work and development order. She's already seeing a health practitioner regularly for a chronic health issue. You offer to speak to them about assisting her treatment being part of a WDO. How do you go about this? So we're going to presume that she's seeing a health practitioner under a GP's
healthcare plan.
Treatment plan or healthcare plan, because she's got a chronic health issue. So that might be something like diabetes plan or kidney dialysis. You know, there's a lot of people who have really regular treatment that they're under care of a practitioner, and so that would be a suitable kind of issue or activity.
Definitely. So like a couple of things to factor in. Obviously, Sue meets grounds due to receiving New Start Centrelink benefit type as well. So you could possibly ask the health practitioner if they're an approved work and development order sponsor. Might be a way.
Or want to become one.
Yeah, or want to become one. It's actually quite a simple process for health practitioners to become approved to support work and development orders. Let's see. So if the health practitioner didn't want to become approved, then we may be able to engage Sue with an already approved sponsor who can refer out for medical or mental health treatment. Legal aid are fantastic at helping our clients to find places like that if they're having trouble themselves. With the health practitioners, we need to ensure that they're registered through APRA, so the Australian Health Practitioners Registration. And so relevant insurance and is able to keep the client activity records. Another option is to refer to Revenue New South Wales's website for a listing of sponsors whom let us publicise them, or contact the Work and Development Order hotline on 1300 478 879 for assistance, or refer to Legal Aid New South Wales, which you can also do that through our hotline. We're more than willing to pass on the referral to Legal Aid and get them to contact you.
Yep. And just from Legal Aid, as I said, we have those 6 teams across New South Wales, and we are very happy to talk to sponsors about this kind of thing, like amending their approval, what they're approved to support, and helping them out with training and how to get started on doing WDO.
They're actually fantastic. So if you want to amend your Work and Development Order approval that already exists and add activities either direct or by referral, you can do this by completing a variation application form on Revenue New South Wales's website. You can find the variation form at the same place as the original application form. So this is an image of the start of this form on the website. You'll be asked to provide information about insurance and staff supervising the WDO activities you want to add. Just on that as well, if you had activities prior approved to be direct for those activities, we will ask for that insurance again as well, just a heads up. So once submitted to Revenue New South Wales, we will assess the application. If we require additional information, we'll be in touch. But if it's all in order, we'll send off a recommendation to Department of Justice, and you'll receive a letter with details about your variation. The details will then be amended on your existing portal ID. Yeah.
Great. Just on the variation, I might just note, Lauren, because you can add new activities, you might also add a new location for an organisation.
Yes.
And this is particularly if you're part of a big organisation like a local health district, which are massive. So you might want to add a location for your particular program that you're working on, or to add locations or to change activities.
So instead of having to do a whole new application for that new location, you simply submit a variation form for location, and we can give you some login details for that new location.
Yeah, just makes it slightly simpler process.
Yeah.
So before we look in more detail at the different activities that you might support on referral, we'll just go through some points to remember about WDO activities. This is an image of a sample timesheet which was completed for somebody doing a Work and Development Order activity. This timesheet is available as a handout. We have 2 different versions. The other version covers a whole month, which you might find convenient for your reporting. They're both available in PDF format on your control panel. If you want a Word version, just let us know and we can edit it and put your organisation's details in. Just send us an email. So in terms of WDO activities, it's important to remember that clients can do more than one activity. You need to keep proof of compliance or attendance at each activity. You can keep proof. It can be either in paper form or electronically. Electronic records are becoming increasingly common, aren't they? And that's fine. But any records must be secure and kept for a period of 5 years. And the activities that you're referring a person to should be suitable and appropriate for that person. So we've got another case study.
Yeah. Do you want me to read it out, Linda?
Read it.
Sure. So Tim is on youth allowance. He has fines from transit officers and the police. He's doing a TAFE course and wants to do a Work and Development Order. You agreed to support him on referral. What does Tim need to do?
So Lauren, with this, we're presuming that the TAFE organisation in this instance is not themselves a WDO sponsor. Not a very good example, because a lot of TAFEs are in fact WDO sponsors.
Yeah, that's right.
But let's presume that this TAFE isn't and they don't want to be, and that you're approved you as an organisation, you're approved for all activities on referral.
Yep.
And that's what you're going to do to help him. So you are able to enter the WDO activity for an educational course. That's a referral activity. So Tim needs to make sure that he turns up to the activity as agreed. So that might be, I don't know, 5 hours a week, let's say.
Yep.
You should turn your mind and be sure that Tim isn't doing the course as part of a mandatory activity for his Centrelink benefit. We note he's on youth allowance, so he's young. It's quite possible. Often young people have mandatory activities to attend education, so you should really be satisfied that this is not a mandatory activity for him.
Another example, Linda, might be, especially with young people, completing apprenticeships. If they're already attending TAFE because of their apprenticeship, basically we see it like double dipping. It needs to be voluntary, not because they have to do something.
Yeah. So in that case, they'd have to do a different course or a different kind of activity.
Exactly. Yeah.
So you might find out who the course teacher or the course supervisor is. I'd probably get Tim to get you that information. And then they can, if you give Tim a copy of the timesheet, he can take it in, get it signed off each session by his teacher, and then they can email it back to you. So providing the information, they will provide the information so that you then can do your monthly report on the activity to Revenue New South Wales on the self-service portal.
Yep.
And of course, you need to keep these records for auditing purposes. We're all very live to this at the moment because we have an active audit in process.
Yeah. All right. So, as a work and development order sponsor, you're required to report monthly on the hours completed for the work and development order activity using the self-service portal for both direct and refer activities. A few things to remember about monthly reporting. Reporting periods open on the 15th of the month. You need to keep evidence of the hours completed by the client in the work and development order activity. Client activity reports must be entered on a monthly basis. Overdue being 2 months, delinquent being 3 months or older, will actually result in contact by Revenue New South Wales if they're not reported on. It is important to report to us even when the client has not participated in their WDO activity for the month. This is known as a nil activity report.
So we're just now going to do another poll question about sponsor activities. If you want to open the poll, you can read the question and answer options. You can select more than one answer in this poll. So how do I find out what WDO activities our organisation is approved for, either directly and or by referral? So 1, I can view this on the self-service portal. 2, I can view this on the organisation approval letter. 3, I can direct or refer all activities without checking. 4, I can contact the WDO hotline or Legal Aid New South Wales.
Now, I do believe you can select more than one answer. That might be a little hint. So we'll just take 2 more seconds and then we'll share it.
So 94% have said they can contact the WDO hotline or Legal Aid New South Wales. Absolutely, we're always happy to talk to you.
Yeah.
72% have said I can view this on the self-service portal. That's a little bit, do you want to talk about that a bit, Lauren?
So you can actually view what activities you're approved for, but it doesn't decipher between direct and referral. So if you're wanting to know that extra detail, you actually have to either, 1, contact the hotline or Legal Aid, or you can actually view it on the original approval letter that you would have received.
If you have access to it. A lot of the problems is often users have got nothing to do with the original approval, which might have been a few years earlier.
True, so went to the CEO.
Yeah. So often that's, you have that sort of disconnect between the approval and the users at the other end.
That's right. Yeah.
But we are always happy to help you out. What else did we have? 59% said I can view this on the organisation approval letter, which is correct if you have access to it. And 3% said I can direct or refer all activities without checking. Probably not.
No, definitely not.
You probably should check. And
you remembering the important part is that you are subject to audit.
And Lauren, usually if somebody isn't approved for an activity, will the portal not let them?
They that's exactly right. It's a safety mechanism. If you're entering a client for an activity on a work and development order and you select directly for something and you're not approved for it, the system will actually halt you and won't let you move on until you contact the hotline to find out what's going on.
Okay, great. I didn't know that. So it actually won't let you.
It won't let you move on.
Are unable to. So that's good. So if people come across that, maybe they know why.
Definitely,
and that they can change it if they want to.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yep.
So we're just going to run through all the different types of activities, maybe flesh out a little bit, you know, what kind of referral and direct activities we might be talking about.
Definitely try. So first activity, unpaid work or volunteering. So remembering the cutout rate is $30 per hour. Voluntary work could include assisting at a charity store or recycling service, a kitchen hand, serving or delivering meals to the homeless or elderly, undertaking administrative duties.
And can I just add to that, especially when you're looking at referring a person out for volunteer work to another agency, it's important that it's not for somebody's profit or personal benefit or gain. And also that the place that you're referring them to, they have insurance to cover them. I've come across people, like, for example, going to a men's shed, like maybe they have they need to be a member to make sure they're covered by the insurance.
There might be specific criteria at that referred service.
Or it might be an agency who are just, you know, helping someone move their fridge. It's like a service, but they don't actually have insurance to cover your clients. So I think it's important, especially for volunteering, important for your client to ensure that if something is to happen with that referral agency, that there's insurance in place, public liability insurance that's going to cover them.
Exactly. If an activity isn't listed on the work and development order self-service portal when you're creating an application, you can tick other and give a description of the voluntary unpaid work. Just remembering, if you do select other, the application will actually result in being reviewed by Revenue New South Wales prior to the WDO opening, and this is just so we're ensuring that the WDO activity is in the right context of the scheme, being the work and development order scheme. So types of proof for the activity, as Linda stated before, could be a timesheet in the format of the handout timesheet that we've got there for you. This includes the day, the date, and the start, and just ensure a supervisor has signed off on the daily hours completed. Also, an email from the sponsor or referred organisation stating the above would be appropriate.
And just another thing to note, Lauren, a question that we often get is if a person is doing it as a volunteer work, say for Work for the Dole, as a mandatory activity, often they need to be doing extra hours. You can't do the mandatory 15 hours or whatever it is for Work for the Dole.
Anything above and beyond would be acceptable.
Yeah.
All right, so we move on to educational, vocational life skills courses. The cutout rate, $50 per hour. So Linda, do you want to run through some courses?
So this might be a whole range. Often we get questions about what is a course, you know. So obviously at one end we have courses at TAFE or university. It could be a course that you're doing through a job service provider. Again, make sure it's not a mandatory activity. It might be literacy and numeracy training, computer training, cooking classes, rent it, keep it programs, those tenancy, there's a whole range of those tenancy programs, positive parenting programs, anger management, independent living skills. Really anything where you have a group of people sitting in the room and you're teaching them stuff is a course.
Exactly. So just remember, if an activity again isn't on the work and development order self-service portal when creating the application, you can tick other to give the description of the educational vocational life skills course. If you do tick other, it will be reviewed prior to the WDO opening. Types of proof again, timesheets, an email from the sponsor.
Yeah. And I reckon it's a good idea for this kind of thing. Maybe if there's a flyer, you know, cookery course running for 6 weeks, if you've got a flyer just to show what that course is.
Completely.
And
that's
then
a great
compliance
idea.
with the activity.
All right. We'll move on to the next activity. So we have financial and other counselling, which includes case management. Again, the cutout rate, $50 an hour. And types of financial counselling could be things like, case management could be budgeting or financial education. And then in terms of counselling, case management, again, counselling or case management, plain as day.
Yeah.
Again, same sort of proof. Same sort of proof as the others.
Yeah. And it might be financial counselling, or it could be just general counselling.
Completely.
Often a question comes up, Lauren, like, when should I enter counselling hours at $50 an hour compared to mental health treatment?
So that's a really good question. So the only time mental health treatment or medical treatment can be selected as opposed to counselling would be if the client actually has a mental health care plan or a healthcare plan, as opposed to generalist counselling.
Yeah, so it's a practitioner's mental health care plan if we're talking about mental health. So that might be, the standard way you go to the GP, get the mental health care plan, see a psychologist or social worker for a certain period of time, or it could also be a community treatment order that you're under the Mental Health Act, or you're seeing the local community mental health team. Again, that's going to be treatment under a practitioner's treatment plan.
Under a practitioner.
So you have those two options in that case, don't you?
That's right.
Great.
All right. So next activity.
So this is an example of that the other type of activity that we're talking about.
That's right.
Mental health treatment.
Yeah. Paid at a different rate to, say, the counselling, the voluntary unpaid work, or the educational vocational life skills courses. The cutout rate is actually a compliance rate of $1,000 per month for full participation. Full participation in accordance with a mental health plan must be a minimum of 1 hour per month to receive the cutout rate of $1,000. Linda, do you think we need to explain the cutout rate any further?
Well, I think it's pretty clear that it's the full compliance means $1,000.
Yes.
But I know a lot of people often get confused, especially with mental health treatment. In some cases, if a person is seeing a psychologist under a GP's mental health care plan, often they might only be seeing the psychologist once a month.
That's right.
Or maybe twice a month. So that would mean usually it's once a month, so that's 1 hour. And they can enter 1 hour in that month and they can get the full $1,000.
That's right.
Yeah.
But, subject to audit again, must be in line with that healthcare plan. So, if that 1 hour a month is all that's required, we understand, especially practitioners, they're health professionals. They know what the client needs. 1 hour per month is okay if that's what the healthcare plan says.
Yeah. And I guess if practitioners are feeling like, well, that's not really enough work for the full $1,000, they are able, it might be 1 hour of attendance, and maybe they will say to the person, I also want you to attend this group that's running.
XYZ.
So you could tie in other activities as part of that mental health treatment plan.
To receive the full $1,000 a month.
And
completely.
again, but they can, whatever the practitioner says, however many hours that is, they can get the full $1,000.
That's right.
It's very generous, isn't it?
Very generous, but well worth it. Especially mental health clients tend to have thousands of dollars in debt. So this is a way forward for them.
Yeah.
Things like medical review, disability case management, psychiatric appointments, counselling, including gambling disorders, medication, residential, so in-house stuff, and community treatment orders are all types of medical mental health treatment that can be included. Right, so treatment undertaken in a mental health facility or in the community under the Mental Health Act 2007, as well as treatment undertaken in accordance with Section 32 of the Mental Health Forensic Provisions Act 1990 can be counted. Wow, Linda, that's a mouthful, and that's why you're the solicitor and you'll be speaking about that.
So essentially that just means all mental health treatment, even if it's been ordered by a tribunal, or the Section 32 is by the magistrate saying that a person is so unwell they need to have an assessment, but that can be counted. So you don't have to worry about that it's not allowed, it can be counted.
Yeah. So again, you can use the other tick box if the activity you're trying to provide isn't listed, just with an explanation of the details. And like it will be reviewed again by Revenue New South Wales. Proof of this one, Linda, interestingly enough, a lot of health practitioners would actually have, and health workers would have this stuff, the proof of the activity, already in their case notes on the computer.
Yeah.
So in addition to handing out a timesheet or an email, simply case notes as well,
Yeah.
we'll be able to give this proof.
Yeah. So if they were doing this as a direct activity, they probably wouldn't use a timesheet, would they?
That's right.
It would just be their records that the person's attending.
Yep.
It's an interesting question that often comes up, like what do they need to disclose for the audit when they're using their case notes?
Yeah.
And I think it's really just extracting from those records. It's about the hours of attendance, isn't it? We don't need any detail of what has been said.
We're not going to breach privacy. No.
Not interested. We just want to know. We want to know the person's attended.
Did they engage?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry.
Here, we'll get this sorted. All right.
So then we're going to move on to drug and alcohol treatment.
That's right. So if you've chosen serious addiction as your client's grounds, remember you can only do drug and alcohol treatment as the client activity. It's the only ground that stipulates the activity the client must do for the work and development order. And so that's solely if you've selected the ground of serious addiction, they can only complete drug and alcohol treatment as the activity. And the cutout rate is similar to, well, is actually the same as mental health treatment, and that's a compliance rate of up to $1,000 per month for full participation. Types of drug and alcohol treatment, Linda?
Yeah, so it might include residential rehab. It could be something like a smart recovery group where people are getting together once a week in a group and for drug and alcohol treatment. Counselling, so individual counselling, which again would usually be weekly or once a fortnight, or medication compliance, or it might be a combination of all these activities. Other things like attendance at Alcoholics Anonymous groups can be, or Narcotics Anonymous can also be included, because it's a drug and alcohol treatment, and the guidelines specifically say 12-step programs can be counted, I think.
Yeah, for sure.
Because people are often a little bit concerned, how do I keep records for that? But I think if you set up an arrangement with the coordinator of the group, maybe an email contact just confirming that the person has attended.
That's right. And literally, again, just their attendance. Don't need to know details.
Yeah.
So not breaching privacy in that sort of respect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this is the most common, the common ground, I think, isn't it?
Is it? Actually, yeah, wow.
I think it's most, when you look at all the work and development order activities, I think drug and alcohol treatment has been one of the most highly used grounds.
Very interesting fact.
I think it's just it's interesting, and it's a great way for people to clear their fines and get the help that they need at the same time.
Yeah, it brings it all into line, doesn't it? So mentoring programs being another activity for persons under 25. Cutout rate is a compliance rate, so not an hourly rate, a compliance rate of $1,000 per month for full participation. So mentoring programs, including attendance at case management meetings with their case manager or a case or other case management can be included. Persons under 25. So if we give a definition of mentoring, Linda,
this is one, as opposed to drug and alcohol treatment, this has been the least utilised ground, I think. I think people are a bit confused. What is a mentoring program? But the WDO guidelines are pretty, I think they were clarified in the May changes last year.
Clarified a bit further.
Yeah.
It's basically an elder person, an experienced elder person giving advice or mentoring a younger person through whatever it might be that they need.
Yeah, whatever activity or program. Yeah. And I think case management. So if you're case managing a person that's under 25, there's a pretty good chance that you can call that a mentoring program.
Utilise this activity.
Use it, and especially when you have young people with massive amounts of fines, which we hear about too frequently.
Yeah, that's a way forward for them young people. Yeah. So we might do a poll, Linda.
Sounds good. So again, you've got multiple choices. It'll show up on your screen in just a second.
Okay.
So if I refer a client to another organisation for their WDO, proof of hours attended can include, and you can select more than one again, a signed record of hours by the client and supervisor, an email from the supervisor detailing the WDO hours, a text from the client about the hours they attended. Nothing. I trust them.
Very trusting. All right, so the answers are rolling in. Get the results up to everyone. Slowly but surely.
How are we going? Oh, we've finished?
Oh, no, hold on. I can share it.
Okay.
There we are.
Oh, look at that. 100% of people said a signed record of hours by client and supervisor. Perfect score. Very happy.
Great attendees.
An email from the supervisor detailing the WDO hours would also be fine. That's absolutely great record of proof of attendance. A text from the client about the hours they attended.
That would be okay if they had one of the other proofs as well above, because a text from a client simply, any client could say they attended hours. So that's being quite trusting. You'll need backup proof from the actual supervisor that held the activity.
And I always trust people, Lauren. I like to trust people.
Me too.
when we speak to sponsors, sometimes, I think we all know that people can try to pull one over us. So I think, and especially from the sponsor's point of view, it's about you just making sure that you have the right proof that you need if you get audited. Completely. So a text from the client, fine, but also we need a backup proof, like you said.
Yeah, of course. All right.
So if you can't assist a client with a work and development order, either as a direct activity that you can provide or by referral, you can assist a client to find another WDO sponsor who may be able to assist them. There's a number of ways you might do this. So Revenue New South Wales has a list of sponsors by region on their website, if you can find it.
Yeah, it's very hard to find. I will tell you straight up, if you just simply go to Google and type in WDO sponsor list, much easier than trying to decipher your way through the website.
Yeah, but that list is not really complete, is it, Lauren? Because when they get approved, they select if they want to be listed on that website.
That's right. So the list is subject to whether, you've said yes or no to being put on the website, whether you want to be publicised or not. If you're not on the website or you're not sure, jump on, have a look. And if you would like to be added to the website, you can definitely either email the Work and Development Order Team at Revenue New South Wales or Legal Aid.
What is the Work and Development Order Team email address? I just don't think we've shared it.
So Work and Development Order one is wdo@revenue.nsw.gov.au.
Yeah, and just while we're on email addresses, Legal Aid is also wdo@legalaid.nsw.gov.au.
So it's WDO either at Revenue or WDO at Legal Aid.
Yeah. Also, individual health practitioners are not listed on that website, are they?
They actually are.
Some are?
Yeah, some are. Some health practitioners do like to be publicised.
So we're now asking. I think they never used to be asked if they wanted to be added, and now we are asking so they can be added.
Yes.
But there wouldn't be that many listed, I don't think.
It's not a great deal.
Yeah.
A lot of health practitioners tend to like to take on their own clients that they already have, but more than welcome to come on board.
So the Legal Aid, we have our own sort of regional lists, so we're very happy to share those lists with you and to tell you more about what's happening in your regional area. We also, just a little plug for the Legal Aid team, which we do in conjunction with Revenue. We hold regular WDO sponsor forums around in regional areas. And it's a great way for you to kind of get together with other sponsors in your region to understand more about what's happening in your region and to get further support for the WDO program.
So the image on screen is actually the Revenue New South Wales webpage, which has the list of sponsors. So once you do find it, this is what it looks like. You'll see there's certain regions, Central Coast, Central West, Far West, etc. The list goes on. You can extend them open by clicking on each region, and then suburbs within those regions will appear. Click on the suburbs and will appear to you the sponsors and their contact numbers.
So just quickly, we're just going to mention audits. It's in the air at the moment. We have an audit in process. I think everybody has been selected already for this audit.
I believe so.
You would have received an email about it. But the audit really is nothing to worry about. You do need to participate in the audit. You have an obligation to respond to any audit findings within a time frame as you may be directed. If you withdraw from the program, it doesn't necessarily mean you will not be subject to audits for the period of your approval in the scheme. Yeah.
So remembering, we say, and the guidelines stipulate, you must keep proof of both grounds and activity for a period of 5 years.
Yeah.
So
we do often get asked what records are required for an audit. Everything that we are telling you is set out in the WDO guidelines. Essentially, the bottom line is you need proof of eligibility and activities.
That's right.
We also get asked if providing records for audit is a breach of your privacy obligations. No, it's not. The audits are conducted internally under strict Justice New South Wales supervision. All records are kept securely and destroyed appropriately. And we really don't, if it's an issue for you, I'm sure that there's ways that the personal information about your clients are detailed. We don't need case notes. We don't need any of that personal information. Again, it is just about hours of attendance. And eligibility proof.
That's right.
And the audits are educative rather than punitive.
Completely.
Really, we are so grateful to all the sponsors who do this work for our clients, for all of our clients. And we want to just use the audits to help make it better and easier rather than punishing you.
That's right. All right.
So we're nearly at the end, Lauren.
We are. That's actually gone quite fast.
That's good. So we've got a little bit of time. We're going to have about 5 minutes to address some of the questions that have been sent through.
Yeah.
Just this screen, which is just coming up now. I think you need to keep clicking. So the resources that we will send through after this webinar, we will send through by email will be a step-by-step guide to setting up a WDOs. It's just a little bit of an overview. The client eligibility checklist, again, which is just a table which helps to clarify what kind of eligibility proof you need to keep. The client details form, again, it's just a template to help you if you don't have access to a computer at the time that you're getting details from your client. It's not compulsory, it's there to help you. And the individual sponsor summary, which is that form that we looked at before, which has a bit more information about the different activities that you might be approved for. Again, if you're not sure what your organisation is approved for, contact us. We'd be really happy to talk to you and to help you understand what your organisation is approved to support.
That's right. Okay, so contacts for help. A reminder, Revenue New South Wales's hotline is open 9 till 5 weekdays. So we can help with the self-service portal and other general work and development order questions. There's our email address as a reminder, wdo@revenue.nsw.gov.au, and Linda for legal aid.
Yep. So the work and development order service, as I said previously, we have 6 teams, but all of us are accessible through that wdo@legalaid.nsw.gov.au. It'll be sent to the right region, so we can provide training and support to your organisation. If you have clients that you can't help and you don't know what to do with, you can go to the hotline, or you can also send them to us if we're in your region.
Yeah, all very helpful.
Yeah.
So we move on to questions. I feel we should just run over again the difference between medical or mental health treatment as an activity as opposed to financial and other counselling as an activity.
Yep.
The biggest difference is that the compliance rate, so the cutout rate, how it's paid. Financial other counselling is an hourly rate at $50 per hour, where medical or mental health treatment is paid at a compliance rate. So in accordance with a healthcare plan, how often does the client need to attend XYZ? And if they are fully compliant with those hours, they'll receive $1,000 for the month. If they only attended half of those hours, Linda, they receive $500, so partial compliance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And just looking at the guidelines, a mental health treatment plan may involve pharmacotherapy. It might be face-to-face sessions with a psychiatrist or a psychologist. It can be treatment undertaken in a mental health facility or in the community under the Mental Health Act, as we said, or under Section 32 of the Mental Health Forensic Provisions Act. A medical treatment plan may include a plan tailored to the individual's complex healthcare needs. So an ATSI health check plan. So it's pretty broad.
Quite broad, quite detailed. Check it out. It's in the guidelines, page 16. Don't forget to utilise these guidelines. This is how you're subject to audit. Everything that you need is retained in these guidelines.
Okay.
All right.
I think we might wind that up.
Yeah.
Thanks, Lauren.
That's all right. Thank you. Hope you've got something out of this. We hope to see a lot more people referring out activities as well as directly providing them. Any questions that you've popped through to Tanya, we'll endeavour to get responses back to you, whether it's after our session now or we'll email you within approximately 48 hours.
And we will probably also follow up from Legal Aid, from the regional teams, if we think that it might be appropriate.
Completely. All right. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks so much for attending, and see you next time.